Hello and welcome back. Welcome to my madness, where we explore this can be considered some dangerous topics here. And in this particular presentation, we are going to talk a little bit about taxes. Now, a lot of people, and this amazes me. This really amazes me because a lot of people set out to defraud the government. And in all actuality, it is not the government that they are defrauding per se, but it is each of you that pay taxes. People set out to defraud you because you are essentially the government. That's how our Constitution is framed. Government for the people, by the people. You are the government. And too many people fall for this idea that is always thrown out there during campaign season. Lower taxes, put more money in your pocket, lower taxes. And the problem with this is that they put more money in your pocket and then they spend more money. And then we wonder why the country is in so much debt. I mean, trillions of dollars in debt. That's just inconceivable. So let's talk a little bit about this necessary evil, which is an integral part of not only of our government, but the social programs some of you enjoy, such as SNAP, Social Security, disability, and the infrastructure, meaning the electric that comes into your home that allows you to watch this, the roads you drive on, meaning the infrastructure of the United States. This is why we collect taxes. And this is why when they throw out these words, cut taxes, lower taxes, it's a big problem. At its core, the purpose for collecting taxes is to fund our government operations and services. Operations and services include our military, include the police force, include the ambulances. You know, we see these, they appear on our voting cards as millages. They're taxes, and they're intended to pay for these particular things. Diplomacy, negotiations, which, you know, this is an ongoing thing. You will read in the various news platforms about these negotiations that are inspired by tariffs. You know, this is the operations of our government, and we have to pay for that. We have to pay for that. Our national defense, welfare programs, taxes provide the financial backbone that allows the government to function theoretically for us. So taxes are important. They are very important for us. And just to give you some examples here, taxes are used to fund public services such as infrastructure, education. There's a big thing going on right now in the courts about education, public schools are partially funded by the federal government and funded by the state government. So you could say that our public school system is essentially wholly funded through taxes that you pay, meaning that you should take an interest in how your money is being spent. They're also used to maintain and develop utility plants, the electric grid, broadband internet. Well, we all want broadband internet. This is what your taxes do for you. They also fund colleges and university because research into technology, biotechnology, astronomy, physics, all of this, a majority of this research is done by our universities and colleges. That is how those students learn about their specific fields as interns, as aides, and then they eventually become researchers when they get their PhDs. Healthcare. You like Medicaid? Well, this is what it does. You like your medications? Well, I'll tell you something. Your medications would not be there if it were not for funding through your taxes, medical research. Now, maybe we shouldn't be funding private corporations for research. Maybe we should be funding the universities for research. But, that's neither here nor there. That's just opinions. But this is what our taxes do. They support all of this. And then, of course, there's the defense, national security, meaning the military. And where does the military get their nice techie weapons from? From the research that we fund colleges and universities for. Are you beginning to see how this is all coming together here? Social services, providing assistance to those people who are vulnerable. And we're talking about programs. You're very familiar. Many of you are very familiar with Social Security. In fact, you throw a hissy fit whenever they even consider Social Security, even if the intent is to make it better, make it more efficient. And then there's unemployment benefits. Many of you will be collecting unemployment if you're not already collecting unemployment, because a lot of jobs are going to start disappearing with what's happening. Food assistance, the SNAPS programs, the food programs for our children. All of that is paid by you. These services are fundamental to maintaining our society, all of us, not just all of the Republicans, all of the Democrats, or those people who don't vote or anything. Everybody benefits from these programs. And when they cut taxes, these programs are the ones that pay for it. Social Security is funded through a specifically targeted tax program where people like myself and you who work, we pay federal insurance contributions or FICA taxes. The people we work for pay those as well. And the whole idea behind that was so that if you, like me, should become disabled and cannot work, you have a reserve to draw from. Those people who are able to retire can draw from that as well. That would not be there if it were not for taxes. Every time they cut back on your FICA taxes, right now there's a big bill that's going through the Congress to make tips and overtime tax free. Well, you will pay for that tax free stuff by reduced benefits. See, essentially, you're paying those taxes, and you really should pay those taxes, is to help you when you can no longer work. That's what that is for. They stop taxing that money. All you're doing is cutting your nose to spite your face because you are the one that suffers, not them. Everybody who is in the legislature, majority of them are make far more money than you do. So keep this in mind. SSI, this is a needs-based program. It's not funded through FICA taxes, but it's a needs-based program for those who are unable to work. Yeah, we have problems where a lot of people abuse the system, but don't cut taxes because somebody in the administrative office of this particular program is too lazy to investigate. Do something to make these departments more efficient. This is the thing to keep in mind. And just let's give you an idea of what happens when they cut taxes. Because a lot of you think it's a great idea, but you have to understand its broader implications because tax cuts reduce the amount of money the government has. And ironically, part of the conservative credo, whether you are Republican or Democrat, is that if you cut taxes, you reduce spending. And what is it that's happening right now in Congress? Not only are they going to cut taxes, they're going to increase spending. Now, the money that comes in supports spending. If you're going to reduce the money you're going to take in, you don't spend more. That's foolish. Cutting taxes contribute to the national debt, which is in the trillions, because the government has to borrow more money. Even though your taxes are reduced, the government has to get that money from someplace. They think that cutting programs will replace all of that money, but cutting programs only covers a little bit. And they have to borrow the rest. Ronald Reagan in the 80s, substantial tax cuts were implemented. The idea was to stimulate economic growth. Lowering taxes would leave people with more money. Businesses would also have more money to spend and invest, boosting the economy. Yes, it boosted the economy, all right, but it also increased the national debt. By the end of his presidency, the national debt had grown significantly. Here's another one to consider. And this was when Mr. Trump was in office the first time, his Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. The idea was to reduce taxes for people and corporations, to spur economic growth. Never mind that it might benefit the wealthy and exacerbate the lower income families and such, but it reduced money coming into the government. It reduced funding for public services, some of which I mentioned earlier. And it also contributed to significant increases in the national debt. It's exactly what they're doing now. Nobody learns from this. And why does nobody learn from this? Because many of the people in this country have disassociated themselves from taxes. It's not that you want to give less to the government, and it's not that you want to give more to the government. You want to make the government more responsible and force them to be more efficient in the way they manage your money. And with those tax cuts of 2017, some of the programs that were affected by them included repealing portions of the Affordable Care Act, leaving more people without insurance. Public assistance programs such as SNAP, which again is going to be reduced. And the TANF program, temporary assistance for needy families, which is most likely going to experience the same thing again, reduced benefits. This is what happens. Cut taxes, your assistance gets less. Now, let's consider what happened when some presidents raised taxes. And this occurred, the earliest one was Woodrow Wilson, who implemented the income tax after the ratification of the 16th Amendment. And the taxes funded hospitals. Of course, today, most of our hospitals are for-profit, not nonprofit, funded programs to prevent disease, those very same programs which have been reduced today, funded higher education and vocational programs, again, which are being reduced, programs that move this country forward. Innovation. You want innovation? Well, stop cutting taxes and start funding these programs that encourage innovation. Taxes funded public works programs such as roads and bridges. We have roads and bridges that are drivable. Well, maybe not all of them, because of these taxes. President Franklin Roosevelt, he increased taxes to fund what he called New Deal programs, which included your Social Security for retirees and disabilities. Yes, I am a recipient of that. I don't want that to be messed with. I would love to see the program improved. I would love to see the funds used in a way that would increase funds, investing, unemployment assistance. That was President Roosevelt's idea. Affordable housing. Do you know what the price of housing is now? Oh my Lord. I rent rooms out. and they're full. Why are they full? Because people can no longer afford to spend 12 to 1500 a month on a crappy place to live. President Roosevelt's increase in taxes helped provide financial assistance for families who were struggling. Granted, this was done during the Depression, but there are always families that are struggling. Your family may be one of them that are struggling. Of course, today, those benefits that your taxes paid for are going to be reduced. President Clinton. Everybody knows President Clinton because of his indiscretion with an intern. Well, consider this. He raised taxes in an effort to balance the budget. Now, I remember him running on a platform where he said he would raise taxes, and his opponent said that they would lower taxes, and he chuckled at him and said, shook his head. That's a bad idea. And he ran on that platform and was elected. His increase in taxes not only helped to balance the budget, bring the national debt down, but it also provided health care coverage for low-income children. He restructured public assistance. A lot of people didn't like it, but he restructured that. His programs included encouragement for people to work. How many people collect these benefits and don't want to work because while they're getting these benefits, they live high on the hog, and when they're working, they're barely scraping through. There's a problem with that. He increased funding for job training. What's the mantra? Bring manufacturing back to the country here? Well, guess what? You need a degree to work in manufacturing because it's all robotics. We need to be aware of this. You need to understand this. Many of these programs like Social Security, infrastructure, disability insurance, job training, these are all that you consider important. However, Congress does not. And why does Congress not think it's important? Because most of those people make buku amounts of money compared to you. There has to be something in here that can help us continue collecting taxes and reduce waste. This Doge program that Mr. Trump initiated is not helping us. All it's doing is cutting people out, firing people, cutting the programs out. All it's doing is I think one judge put it, using a hammer, where they should be focusing on how to make these departments, these programs, more efficient in their operation. There has to be a way to do this without depending entirely on us taxpayers to fix their screw ups, because that's essentially what's happening. They are creating these screw ups, these mistakes, and we have to pay for it. They say, oh, well, this will be paid for later on down the road. That is poor money management. No wonder the country is caught up in credit card debt, because the government is the biggest one caught up in this credit card debt. One of the things they can do, which I'm hoping this does, is to help you gain an understanding of what your taxes, of what our taxes are for. It's important. We all should understand what they are doing with the money we are providing them, because they represent us. For the last three administrations, we have not elected representatives. We have elected a political party. When Obama was in charge, the Democrats were there. And what happened? The Democrats pushed their agenda through. The Republicans came in. What happened? The Republicans pushed their agenda through with President Biden. What happened? The Democrats pushed their agenda through. Nobody is concerned about the needs of the people. They're too busy focused on their agendas. The Republicans today are pushing their agenda through. And now, what is it that the Democrats want? They want you to put them in power so they can push their agenda through. I think we need to start looking for candidates that will not subject themselves to the political party's agenda, but will actually be concerned about people like you and I. Anyway, I got off target a little bit. I apologize. Taxes may not be the best thing for us. You might think they're a necessary evil, but I believe they are a necessary component to a properly operating culture. They are vital. And when you have a better understanding of the reason why taxes are collected, how they are used, then you may not be so hip to the idea of tax cuts. Because typically, whenever they cut taxes, they spend more, they borrow more money. They're not helping the country any, not at all. I hope you found this informative. If you did, great. Like the video, consider subscribing to the channel. We explore more than just this. We explore a variety of intellectual, spiritual, philosophical topics. And I wish a good day for you. And I won't charge you any taxes for it either.